Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. Hey, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, especially if you're a college football or college basketball fan, because that's all we do here. College football or college basketball videos every single day. I don't miss a day. We've already hit 5,000 subscribers, but we have a big goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know we can do it, but we can't do it without you hitting the subscribe button. Also, check out my Patreon page. We have a much wider selection. And for those of you that want to send in your I am Golden Blue Dude or we are Golden Blue Dude, go ahead and send that in because the deadline is going to be this Monday. It's going to be your last chance this weekend to send in your short video clip that says I am Golden Blue Dude or we are Golden Blue Dude. I've gotten a big response. I'm looking forward to that video. Just send that to my email, refssuk@gmail.com. I'll have my email in the description of this video. All right, so on this video, I wanted to talk about the fiasco that's going on in Auburn. It's not looking good at all. So, Gus Malzahn, he was fired after going 6-4 in 2020. His buyout was $21.5 million. If I'm not mistaken, that's the biggest buyout ever for a job that he's not doing right now. Well, Brian Harsin, just for context, his buyout right now is $18.3 million, which that is 70% of his remaining contract, but it's less than $21.5 million. But you put that together, that's a lot of money for Auburn to fail. This past year, Auburn went 6-7. They finished 6th in the SEC West with a record of 3-5 in the SEC. Now, they started off the season pretty good, actually. They beat Akron 60-10. They beat Alabama State 62-0. They lost at Penn State in a close game 28-20. Beat Georgia State 34-24. Went to LSU and beat them 24-19. They lost to Georgia 34-10, but I think they played pretty good against the best team in the nation. They went to Arkansas and beat a red-hot Arkansas team 38-23, and they actually beat Ole Miss at home 31-20. So it looked like everything was going great at Auburn. And then the bottom fell out. First, it started off with a humiliating loss on the road to Texas A&M, 20-3. Then they let the Mississippi State game get away from them. They lost 43-34. Lost at South Carolina, 21-17. Played good enough against Alabama to beat them, but they did end up losing against the Tide, 24-22 in overtime. And then, of course, they lost in the Birmingham Bowl to Houston, 17-13. They averaged 28.3 points per game. That's 68th. That was Auburn's biggest problem. Their offense, it was bad. It stunk. But they had a pretty decent defense. They allowed 21.8 points per game. That's 27th. Now the problem is Brian Harsin, specifically as a person. He don't seem like a very nice dude. Number one, he's been accused of an extramarital affair with the 21-year-old woman while he's at Boise State. And what does he do? He brings her with him, hires her on staff. I don't know what her title is or whatever, but he hires her. You just don't do that. You're already cheating on your wife, and now you hire the woman that you're cheating on your wife with? That's crazy to me. Why would you do that? So not only are you a scumbag, but you're a stupid scumbag. On top of that, Auburn is facing a massive staff exodus, along with players leaving. One of those players who transferred to UCF, Lee Hunter, said that Brian Harsin, as a person, had a terrible mindset. Yikes. He stated that the reason he left Auburn was because Brian Harsin treated his players like dogs. Well, I mean, he's a dog as a person. He's cheated on his wife, hires the woman that he cheated on his wife with, and now I should be surprised that he's treating his players like dogs? I'm sorry, I'm not surprised. And the big higher-ups, Chief Operating Officer Ron Burgess and Athletic Director Alan Green, they declined any request to comment, so they don't want to talk about this. And here's the really big red flag for Brian Harsin, if there wasn't already enough right now. The legal affairs personnel for Auburn have actually gotten involved in this because they want to figure out what's going on. And sources are saying that the same people that didn't want to fire Brian Harsin before now want to fire Brian Harsin. So it sounds like they're actually building a case against Brian Harsin. This situation is being described as volatile because of how he treats his players and coaches. I will say this, Brian Harsin did defend himself. Here's how he defended himself. He said, "Any attack on my character is BS." Wow. That convinced me, Brian Harsin. You must be a good person. I will say there was a player that defended Brian Harsin. That was linebacker Derek Hall. Right now, the biggest hole on the staff at Auburn is the offensive coordinator. They're having issues having an offensive coordinator. First off, Brian Harsin, he fired offensive coordinator Mike Bobo after the season because of the terrible offense. They hired Austin Davis, who replaced Bobo 6 weeks ago, and Austin Davis has already left. He's gone. He lasted 6 weeks, not even one game into the regular season, and he quit. And their defensive coordinator, Derek Mason, who's a pretty good defensive coordinator, he left Auburn. Where did he go? He went to Oklahoma State. That's actually a step down. He left Auburn, took a step down, and took the same job at Oklahoma State. They did find a replacement for Derek Mason at defensive coordinator, and that's Jeff Schmedding. But right now, there is a total disconnection at Auburn. Here's the thing. Auburn's actually a pretty good football program. I mean, think about it. Even in the last decade, they've had decent success. They went to the national championship in 2013. 2017, one game away, but was denied in the SEC championship by Georgia. So they've been close over the past decade. It's not like they've fallen off a cliff and they're trying to recover and they just can't recover. No, they're just making bad hires. That's the bottom line. Personally, when they hired Brian Harsin, I didn't know what to think. I thought, hey, maybe it could work. It's an outside hire. Brian Harsin, he's had pretty good success at Boise State. Won over 70% over there at Boise State. It's worked before. This could work now. But I didn't know all the personal issues that Brian Harsin had. And it looks like it's affecting his career. Like cheating on his wife and bringing that woman onto staff is affecting his mental state as a coach, because he's acting like a dog as a person, so he's treating his players and coaches like a dog. But here's the big question. All right, so if Auburn does fire Brian Harsin, who should they bring in? Well, a lot of people are suggesting Hugh Freeze, which is a bit ironic, because what was Hugh Freeze known as? A scumbag. So you're going to fire a scumbag and rehire a scumbag. Now. This is not me throwing stones at Hugh Freeze. Maybe he learned his lesson. He's actually behaving well right now, so maybe he did learn his lesson. He's a better human being, and he cut all that crap out. That's not for me to judge. All I'm saying is, he's done some shady things in the past. So if you fire one coach for doing shady things and you bring in another coach that has been known for doing shady things, I don't know how that's going to work out. But Hugh Freeze is a decent head coach. I mean, he had a lot of success at Ole Miss. He's having pretty good success at Liberty. So if the only thing you're focused on is success, then maybe Hugh Freeze does make sense. Because even though Brian Harsin is a scumbag, he's not having success at Auburn. And that's the biggest thing. I think Auburn would actually be willing to look over his scumbaggery if he was having success. He's not having success. So it's piling up on Brian Harsin. Now, will he be fired this year? Will he last through the season? Will Auburn turn it around? That all remains to be seen. We'll see what happens there. But right now, it's not looking good for Auburn. Right now, it's not looking good for Brian Harsin. I don't know the mindset of the Auburn fans right now. Are y'all done with Brian Harsin? Are y'all willing to give him another chance? I mean, it is only 1 year into his contract. I mean, 6-7 is really, really bad. But how much patience does the Auburn fan base have? I don't know. I mean, if you look in the past, not much patience. What about the talent? How much hope does Auburn have? Well, this year's recruiting class ranking is number 18. That's top 20. But compared to previous classes, that's underperforming. Auburn's been close to a top 10 class. The number 7 recruiting class a few years ago. But ever since Brian Harsin has taken over, they have failed to reach top 15 recruiting class. But, I mean, top 20, that's not bad. Compared to the recruiting classes before him, underperforming. So, I mean, they are going to have the talent, but not nearly as much talent as they usually get. So I'm going to leave that up to Auburn, the higher-ups, the fans. I'm just saying from an outside perspective, it doesn't look good for Brian Harsin at Auburn. And Auburn has proven, hey, we'll shell out money to get rid of you if we don't like you. But you add that $21.5 million that they're shelling out to Gus Malzahn, add that to the $18.3 million, that's almost $40 million. $40 million. So my suggestion is, if you do fire Brian Harsin, you better make sure 100% positive that you get the exact man that you want for the job, because you're not going to be able to afford to fire another coach in 2 years and have to buy him out for another $20 million. It's just not going to work out very well for you financially, Auburn. So figure it out. Do you want to keep him? Give him another chance. And if you do want to fire him, figure out who your guy is. 100%. No doubts whatsoever. So y'all let me know in the comments section what you think about this situation. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.